The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel is Joanne Mercier. Hey, Joanne. Hey,
Dom. Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year. It's our first time together this year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. So I want to get into today's show without any further ado, because we got a lot to talk about. And our first up is we're going to be talking about weather-related and disaster-related apps and tech, kind of relate to natural disasters and stuff, because, there's been a little of that going on around us in this January 2025. And there's always something. So, we've got the wildfires in California, record snow and cold throughout the United States, especially into the deep south. Heck, we've even had an earthquake in New England just yesterday.
I missed that completely. Like everybody, I got to work. I was traveling while it happened. I got to work and everybody said, "Did you feel the earthquake?" And I went, "No, I thought it was a pothole."
Yeah. I was just getting started podcasting, and I felt like a rumble in my chair, my desk chair. And I'm like, "Oh, that's weird. It's like a big truck go by or something outside." And then I'm in the middle of podcasting, and my wife Melanie bursts in. "Did you feel that?" I'm like, "I'm podcasting. I'll talk to you later." But she said the pictures on the walls were swaying, so
whoa,
it was enough to rattle things like that. So, but relatively small on the California scale. I think.
Well, we're not used to that. I mean, we're getting tornadoes and earthquakes. Mm-hmm. Not a New England thing here.
Although we get them every once in a while. I think in the past, someone was asking me how often do I get them. I said, like in the past 25 years, I think I recall 3, including this one, maybe 4.
That. Yeah.
There was one when I lived in Salem, and then there was another one a while ago where I posted a funny picture of a lawn chair that had fallen over, and it said, never forget.
Oh, I remember that. I do remember that. But they're so rare. And
they're very rare. Yeah.
And I admit, this size earthquake that we have, was it 3.8, 3.9?
Something like that. I
was in California at one point when they had one about that size, and I didn't feel it. Yeah. And everybody said, "Oh, did you feel the earthquake?" And my cousin's like, "You feel the earthquake?" I'm like, "No." was there supposed to be like, fireworks and yelling and screaming, "This is an earthquake"? And
Californians don't get excited until it's like 6.
Just about.
Yeah. If buildings aren't falling over, then
they're not worried.
So let's talk about some of these. And the first one I want to talk about is an app and website that emerged during the California wildfires as a key tool that people have been using to stay informed. It's called Watch Duty, and it's actually a 501c3 nonprofit organization behind this. And this has been being used by people in government, people in news, but it gives real-time alerts of the wildfires, and it keeps track, shows evacuation zones, shows the perimeters. It's really an excellent app. I was looking at it. A friend of mine lives in Los Angeles and was near where one of these fires was and had to evacuate at one point. And, he was sending links to show us, where things were as of this. And so you can, email a link, you can use it in the web browser. And it's pretty amazing. This information about the air tankers that are being used to fight the fires, like where, their flight paths, all kinds of information on evacuation orders and shelters. There's ways for people to submit information, in real time about what they're seeing and experiencing. And that sort of thing, air quality and wind direction. So it's an excellent resource and really nicely well done. Now, it only covers the western half of the United States, because that's really where wildfires are an issue. I mean, we actually had some wildfires here in the Boston area this past fall, but on a much smaller scale. But they have from Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Minnesota west, basically.
It's west of the Mississippi.
Pretty much everything west of Mississippi. Louisiana, since Mississippi goes straight through it, is not included, but everything else it's west, and that's where they have. I guess they have their sources, that where this stuff is being reported real time by government agencies and that sort of stuff. So it includes Hawaii as well, but not Alaska, I think is.
Yeah, I was very impressed with this app. I downloaded it because I have family in the LA area as well as up and down the coast. So I've been able to follow them, especially when it got close. My cousin's son is in Ventura. My cousins are in Santa Clarita, in that area. And it was scary for a while. I'll jump on this. I'll jump on this and say, if you have loved ones who are in areas that are affected with natural disasters, your best places to go is the local television stations. Do not rely on CNN or News Nation or anything like that. Go to their local stations. I was on KTLA every day religiously for a week because they had the best coverage and you knew what was going on. So, even though we're going to be talking about weather and disaster apps, it's good to note that, again, if you've got people where they are, go for those local stations, something like their own app or something like News On, which will give you all that kind of information.
That's excellent. One of the things that Watch Duty does is it also provides information on meal centers and evacuation centers and places to go for resources. So even after the fire is contained or mostly out, this information is still available for people. So it's really excellent. And again, completely free. So fantastic. So something that we have to deal with a little more, but it maybe even more so for the southeast of in the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic coast is hurricanes. And so I've been using this app for a long time. I'm just interested in seeing what's going on with. I'm kind of interested in the weather, but for people, this is important. It's an app called Hurricane Tracker. HURRtracker.com. We'll have links to everything in the show notes. And it's not the most beautiful app in the world.
It can be awful sometimes.
Yeah.
It's very basic.
It's functional I think is the other way to put it too. Yeah. And it's an iPad app. I don't think you can get it.
You can't
use
get
it on my iPad. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Let me just check. I've used it religiously. I've used it religiously like you have. But now there's also a premium version and a non-premium version. So I bet the premium version looks really good because the non-premium works. It's been the best way to track both Atlantic and Pacific hurricanes. And they're pretty on top of it. They're right there. Whoever's doing this is spot on.
It's used iPhone, iPad, Android. I think the biggest thing is the paid version gives you more in-depth information, like more meteorological information, and it takes out the ads. I think those are the big differences. But for the vast majority of people, the basic version is sufficient. And and it uses the National Weather Service information as well. So, but it's really useful. I find in hurricane season to have something like this, just to kind of keep an eye. I like to keep an eye on, what's coming, what's in the Mid-Atlantic, where are things going, just to be informed and to know, where's it going to go, that sort of thing.
And it's interesting. They stopped their radar on November 30th. April 1st, they will restart everything and you'll start getting notifications if you have that enabled. And but I've used this for years and it is my best way of tracking things. My husband says, you're getting obsessed again. And it's like, we live, this is what we're used to. We're used to between June-ish and October-ish, sort of keeping an eye to the hurricane sky. And just because we're due for one, folks.
Yeah, we're due for a big one.
We're due for a big one, and we just keep waiting for it. It's just like every year. Nothing yet. Okay, good. We're good. But this app does do a lot of, you can get into the weeds with it, or you can just look at the map and find out where everything is.
And there were other hurricane tracker apps out there. A lot of them use the National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center data, similarly. So doesn't just have to be this one. There are others as well. So,
well, I just find that this one, Dom, is more like generic, or for like a broader scope of people. When you get some of the other ones, they're more specific to Miami or Florida or down south. So this one kind of does everybody, because hurricanes don't stop at the North Carolina border.
They don't. They do not.
As we can attest to.
Yes, we've seen them. So the next set of apps I want to talk about is from the Red Cross. They have a whole bunch of apps, but they have one called Emergency app. And this one is, it's free. Their apps are free. But what it does is it lets you customize weather alerts for different locations based on loved ones. So like I get weather alerts and that sort of stuff for where I live from, my local news and that sort of stuff. But if I had family in, which I do in Texas, or if I had family in Washington State, or I want to, receive maybe weather alerts. If my daughter goes to school in, Ohio, I don't know what kind of weather they get there, but maybe they get tornadoes. Like I want to know a critical alert. I want to be informed. And so this sort of thing will inform you when there is a weather alert. I think it's weather only. I don't think it gives you other kinds of like news alerts, just weather.
No, it's mostly weather. And what I found with it can get very intrusive, because yes, it wants to give you the information. But if you've got like family all over the place, all of a sudden in the middle of the night, you're getting an emergency that doesn't belong to you, and it's your family. And it's like, should I have shut that down? Or if your family moves, for example, and you forget to go back to the app and change their location, or if they move out of the country, delete it. You get all kinds of, I love it. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't. Yeah. I love it, but just be careful with notifications.
I have to say I have an issue with it, which is for me, and I don't know what's going on, but I can't turn on the alerts. It gives me an error message, and really? I don't know if I've set up my privacy on my phone in such a way or what.
Maybe.
But it's just
because I get all kinds. Until I started, right now it's just shrunk down to our location. I haven't done anybody else for a while, and it's been pretty manageable. But when I started doing other parts of the country, man, I'm getting all kinds of stuff at all different times.
Yeah,
and I do have privacy.
Yeah, what's that?
I do have privacy at night between 10 and 6. And it's still cutting sometimes.
Well, it's critical alerts, and that's the big thing. Right. Some apps can request to have critical alerts, and so you set that in the notifications in the system settings on Apple devices. I'm not sure on Android devices, but it's so critical alerts are the ones that get through all of your barriers, basically.
Yep.
Because whatever, and some apps will try to abuse that. Like LinkedIn offers to give you critical alerts. I'm like, there's never anything that will come across LinkedIn that I want to interrupt my sleep or, buzz during mass.
Exactly.
So it doesn't get those. But the emergency app lets you, specify what kinds of alerts. Do I want extreme cold and winter weather alerts? Do I want an earthquake alerts? Do I want extreme heat, floods, high winds, other kinds of stuff like that? So it really lets you drill down. So maybe I only want, like, if I've got family in Texas, I don't necessarily want high heat alerts because it's always hot in Texas in the summer, but maybe I want hurricane alerts or tornado alerts, depending where they are in the state. So you can, I don't necessarily need severe thunderstorm alerts for my family in Texas because they get thunderstorms all the time. So you can drill down and customize it. So that's really nice.
And they've got a nice, I was just going to, you and I probably think of the same thing. They've got a nice preparedness place where you can learn about the different, hurricanes, floods. If you don't understand these things, there's about 8 of them, I think. Extreme cold winter weather. Gee, we know about that. I can skip that one. Yeah. But, things like home fire. Sometimes people, especially if they have a fire in their home, panic because they're not quite sure what to do, even though they've read all, got to do this, got to do that. These are nice things to go over every once in a while. And I'm glad the Red Cross puts that in for us.
Right. They have other apps as well, like a first aid app that gives basic first aid information, pet first aid app, which is kind of nice.
That's a good one.
Blood donor app that helps you, make blood donation appointments and the information like that. And then they have like a hero care app for if you're a member of the military or veteran communities. It connects you to resources, which is great. I love that. So definitely check that out, especially the emergency app. That's really the one we're focusing on today. Then from there, let's talk about you're going to want to keep an eye on the weather. So, and we've talked about weather apps before, and so I want to kind of just reiterate some of the ones that I use. I prefer Carrot Weather, which I use on iOS. It's available for Android and Mac. It has a personality, which I basically have turned off. Like it's funny for a while, but apart from the sarcastic personality that they have in it, if you turn that off, it's still a really good weather app. It's very interactive. It's very customizable. You can create all kinds of layouts that change depending on the weather you're getting. So if you're getting a rainstorm, it changes and gives you much more information about, rainfall and when it's coming and go and not. And so it's really excellently visual layout app. It's really great for that. But there are others. My Radar is one that a lot of people use that has storm radar. These all have paid levels. So, you get some for free, but you also you have to pay to get more. And I know My Radar is mainly it gives you weather, but it really is really focused on make sure to give you weather radar images for your location. So there's a lot there.
What I find. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the other one I was going to mention was the Weather Channel app, which is all right. I don't love it. It's a lot of ads, but it's the biggest. Weather Channel is the 800-pound gorilla of weather. So, but you were going to say, what was it that you like?
My Radar is also available in CarPlay. Oh, and that's where I find My Radar very useful. Because if I'm going to be driving through anything, that's where I'm going to get my best view of where is the snow, where is the rain line, it's available with CarPlay. And again, it does have a paid and a non-paid, and I'm a non-paid person, but it's just enough to help me because at that point, Maps or Waze is not giving me anything with weather.
Right.
But My Radar, if I click that, it will show exactly what's going on as I travel. So it's been very useful to me. So those of you who have CarPlay, that's a good thing.
Or Carrot Weather.
Yeah. Carrot Weather makes, I couldn't stand it. I tried. But for those of you in the New England area, 1 degree outside is really. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, they now have a Patreon. I'm now a patron because they're a husband and wife team, Matt and Danielle Noyes, and they are like the most level-headed meteorologists. Like they're not going to sit there and go, boy, everything is really going to blow up here and we're looking for 12 million pounds of snow. And now they're pretty even and they go into depth. You want to get in depth with these people. They've got a podcast that'll, do that.
What an excellent story, because Matt and Danielle are, like you mentioned, a married couple. They've been each TV weather meteorologists, TV meteorologists for decades in the New England area. And they've decided to go independent, and they've set up this 1 degree outside, number1degreeoutside.com, where they focus on New England weather. So the 5 states of New England, and they have an app, they have a YouTube channel, they give daily briefings several times a day, and they go in depth in different areas. But their model is to give most of it away, but they also sell services to companies and governments where they create hyper local forecasts for, so if I own, I don't know, a landscaping business, I want to know if it's going to be raining in this town, but not in that town. I don't want to send my guys to that town. I want to send them to this town where it's not raining. That's one example, but there are plenty of companies and plenty of governments where they want to know, just for example, snowfall amounts. If I run a school district, I really want to know how much snow are we going to get tomorrow in my town, so I can make a decision whether to cancel school or not ahead of time. I don't want to be like, well, there'll be this range on this wide area, from the regular news. They will provide as a service. So that's really great. I'm glad that they're doing that. They have a business model for that. But for the rest of us, they provide these really great daily forecasts that really get into, and when there's a storm, of any sort, they go live. And I've watched, for example, Matt do live when there's thunderstorms and threats of tornado or tornadic weather. He's live, he's tracking it. He's, on YouTube Live or Facebook Live. So it's really excellent. And again, they have an app which you can download as well. So hyper local weather is great.
Yes, that's the whole thing. In New England, where you have 5 states, it can be, and you're predicting snow. It can be 20 inches in the north and 2 inches on the coast. They really focus in on each section. Some of the news stations don't have that kind of time, but these two do, you're the one who turned me on to it. And I just grabbed onto it with both hands, and I love them. So they're my go-to weather people right now in this area.
I'm glad you reminded me. And maybe there's others in other areas as well, but this is a great example of this. Now, here's another one. We had an issue, I think it was last year or the year before, where there was all those Canadian wildfires. We talked about wildfires, or, in California or the West Coast, air quality is an issue. And a lot of these weather apps will have air quality monitors in them, but there's also an app from the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, called the app's called Air Now, and it gives you an air quality information based on your location. So I'm looking at mine, and my air quality, in the middle of the winter, it's usually pretty good. Mine, it's good air quality outside. It gives you ozone. It gives you a forecast for the air quality tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So it's really useful. It's free. It's a government resource. You can look at it on the website, but you can also download apps for your computer, for your phone, that sort of thing. So especially there are folks with asthma or other breathing issues. They need to be on top of this and see, what's the weather going to be like, the air quality, the weather, air quality. So that's a useful app. And then, make sure to get your local electric utilities app if there are outages, or to be able to report an outage from your phone. Have the app on your phone before there's a problem. That way you can have it if there's an outage. I've used it many times for our local utility, just to, they will often, give you estimates of when you're going to get power back and where the power is out and that sort of thing. And sometimes it's you can't do anything about it. It's just nice to know that they know about the outage,
And you need to know who your utility is, because if you punch the wrong one in, you're not going to get the map over your area. I've seen a lot of people go, well, why can't I see what's going on in Taunton? Well, because Taunton has a municipal electric and gas. So you have to get that specific. I mean, there's a few towns in Massachusetts that do that, but Rhode Island is under one, area now. It used to be under 2. Now it's only 1. So you have to change your, you got to know who your utility people are so you can get those. And they're not bad. I just don't like it. I just don't like it when they say estimated time of restore is 25 hours. It's gee, really?
No one likes that. Where I am in the Boston area, we have basically 2 different electric utilities that are possible. So you make sure you know which one is yours. Look at your bill. They'll tell you. Your state emergency management agency may have an app or something related to that sends you alerts. Sometimes they can send you law enforcement alerts, but it will also send perhaps other kinds of alerts, or about natural disaster, that sort of thing. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also has an app that gives information, especially after a disaster, for recovery. And it gives strategies for, preparing in case of a disaster, that sort of thing too. But it's nice to have it on your phone if there's a disaster, so that you can contact them and file requests and applications and that sort of stuff from the app.
What about Code Red?
That's right. That's another one.
Yeah, that's sort of an area one, because right now I'm looking at, I have Code Red because I think my town feeds into it, but right now I'm looking at it, and in some place in Southbridge, I think is having, Webster, they're having an issue, so they've already put up an emergency. Oh, great! It's a parking ban because we're supposed to get snow tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's a parking ban.
What I know about Code Red is actually my town does it, but they send out calls. So our Code Red is a Code Red alert. So we get phone calls and text messages. So towns can sign up for that. But that's so useful. If your town has that available, definitely sign up for it. Sometimes they send them out for silly things. I'm not sure. I think they overuse it, and that's a danger with all these things. Right. You get notification fatigue. But that's useful. And then the last one was an app that I'm going to install because it's called Quake Feed. Quake Feed,
yeah.
It's the number one earthquake app.
Think we need it now, Dom.
Yeah, now I'm all worrying about earthquakes. So, but seriously, if you live in an earthquake-prone zone, something like that may be more useful for you. So definitely, so there's all kinds of stuff like that out there to check out. Just some tips I want to give in general. Make sure to set up your emergency alerts. So on your phone in settings, there will be under notifications, like on the iPhone, and this will be the same on Android. On the iPhone, if you go under notifications and you scroll all the way down to the end of the notifications page, you can turn on Amber Alerts, emergency alerts, and public safety alerts. And there's under emergency alerts, which is interesting, there's a local awareness button that's off by default, but what it will do is it'll monitor your location. And so if you're on vacation, or if you're on a trip, it will sense where you are and give you emergency alerts for that place, as opposed to back home if you're not there, that sort of thing. So that's very useful. So it's using your location to determine that. So you can turn that on. So I recommend, some people turn off Amber Alerts and that sort of thing. I recommend keeping everything on. They don't come that often, and when they do, it's a good reason to have them. So definitely have that. Have a digital go bag. So take all your vital documents, your insurance policies, your ID, make them, scan them, make digital versions of them, and then put them in an encrypted cloud storage, whether it's Google Drive or Dropbox or iCloud or wherever, on OneDrive. But keep them stored in the cloud somewhere, encrypted, but in the cloud. 1Password you can store documents in it. That's actually probably the best place, something like that. And that way, if something happens and you have to run, or there's a fire, God forbid, or something, you have these documents, your home insurance information, all that sort of stuff. Keep that in the cloud. Keep a power bank and a portable charger ready, fully charged, ready to go. Know where it is at all times. Like, to have one that's just for this, that you can go, not where's my charger that the kids took and left, in their room somewhere. No, you have a specific, go bag.
That was the one thing in the fires that people did not, they may have had their phones fully charged, but they didn't have the power banks.
Right.
They didn't take it with them thinking, I'm coming back. No, You really need to have I have a go bag in the back of my car, which is just, clothes and stuff if I get stuck anywhere, but I've now started to add a few extra things. But if you have anything like that, you have to make sure they're charged.
Right. You do, and and have a way to charge them. And if you're getting, like, if you're in an area where something may happen, whether it's a hurricane is coming or tornado warnings or earthquake, have a bag of your medicines, like maybe a little extra medicines that you set aside, just like even a few days worth at least, until you can get to a pharmacy or a doctor, to get refills if something happens to your house. Having again is part of your go bag. I just feel like everybody should have a go bag, something that is I can grab quick and go. And
because people don't think in that time. I mean, people were thinking more, as I was listening to reports, people were thinking more of grabbing those precious items that they can't replace than their medicine.
Exactly.
To leave their houses. I mean, you need you need all of that. But if you had it in one place, Californians are much better. But we found during the wildfires that I think just maybe the LA area wasn't. Other people seem to be more ready for it than the LA folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Enable location sharing with trusted contacts so they can check in with you. So, like whether it's Find My or something like that. Make sure you have location-based weather alerts on so you can get weather alerts for where you are. Google Maps, Apple Maps, they have ways to download maps for your area so that you can use them offline. Because if, Wi-Fi goes down, cell network goes down, you want to have a way to be able to get around with maps. So that's, so if a storm is coming, download Google Maps for your area, or Apple Maps, but you can download offline for that.
Dom, I'm glad we did this because, I mean, I think the LA fires were a wake-up call for everybody. Something as tragic as that can happen so fast.
Right.
So that if
people didn't expect this to happen.
No, absolutely not. Nobody was being careless as far as that's concerned. But people, I mean, I don't know if you know the topography of LA. Yeah. But it's vast. Yes. And it's all these little places and they're flat surrounded by mountains. So one thing goes, they all go. And it's just, it can happen anywhere. And
disasters will happen. There are people in Oklahoma right now who in 3 months are going to have a tornado hit their house. There are people in Florida who in a year or 2 years or 3 years at some point, they're going to get hit by a hurricane. It's just inevitable that this weather or other sorts of disasters will happen. It happens to people every day. Their house burns down. So be ready for it. The last thing I will mention for the tip is tech-related gear, solar-powered chargers, weather-resistant cases for your devices, hand crank radios, because, again, you want to be able to get that information. So a crank radio works real well. My family, we have GPRS radios. We've talked about them before. They're the next level up from those, kid radios, the family radio service. FRS is like basic and cheap. GPRS is more substantial. They have a longer range. But I bought 6 of them and have them on a base station. Yeah, we use it for when we're scouting and stuff like that. But having hand radios so you can stay in touch with other people when the cell networks are down is not a bad idea. If we're here and the cell network's down and, I need to go hike to a water distribution center, I want to stay in touch with my wife, we'll have the radios that could reach, that sort of thing. You want to be able to have a way to communicate.
Yeah, and none of this is air quote survivalist stuff. This is just basic common sense to help you live in this technology world now if something happens.
And we're becoming more and more dependent on our technology, and so when we're deprived of it, the networks, the infrastructure, it can really be disorienting. So a lot of these things are just ways to help us in the case of if we're deprived of it. People used to know how to get places without using GPS. That's less common now. People used to know how to call people. You could call on a landline. People don't even have people's numbers anymore. So this is a way of helping us stay connected and using the technology that is there to help us, like having weather forecasting that's accurate for where we are.
Yeah, I think, John, you and I still know how to use a map. a paper map. But
Yes.
I'll just do a quick aside. There's a show called Relative Race, and they send people out to find their relatives through DNA. And they take away their phones and give them paper maps. You should see how they cannot decipher where to go and what to do and how confused they get.
That's something I have in my cars is a paper map book of our area. When I was a kid, we had these, and they're still available, where each page is a different local town, and it has all the roads. And so if it came down to it, I could open up this book and find out where to go. Because honestly, when I drive around, sometimes I'm in places where I don't have a good cell signal, and GPS is useless. I mean, I was down in Wareham, Mass, last year with the kids, and I had no cell signal there, and I'm like trying to. Where do I go? Like at which exit? I forgot which exit onto the highway or ramp onto the highway do I take? North or south, or east or west, so I can go north. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. I picked the wrong one, and when I got to I think New Bedford, I'm like, this is the wrong direction.
Whoops.
Turn around. It went the other way. But because my GPS didn't have signal, I wasn't getting the signal where I was. But if having these books can really help you in an emergency situation. So a Rand McNally Atlas or a local Metro map book or something along those lines. You may never use it, but you won't regret it when you need it. That's for sure.
And I'm sure they either have a Kindle EPUB version or even a PDF copy of some of those if you're still, tied to your technology.
Yes, right, definitely. So I think that'll do it for our discussion of the weather and disaster-related apps and technology. Folks have suggestions of their own. We're happy to share those in a future episode. You can send those to technology@sqpn.com, and we'll be sure to share those. Now, before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create The Secrets of Technology, including Diane S., Martin G., Tim D., Sean F., and John C. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue The Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. This StarQuest show is also brought to you by Exodus 90 and the Exodus 90 Challenge, which begins this year on January 20th. This isn't just a 90-day program. Exodus 90 is a spirituality for men in modern times, built on 3 ancient pillars: prayer, self-sacrifice, and fraternity. We all long for something more, and that something is to be found in becoming the men that God created us to be, sons of a loving Father. It's time to turn away from our idols. It's time to break free from the pharaohs that hold us in bondage. If you're ready to make a fresh start, to break free, refocus, and rediscover who God is calling you to be in the new year, and embark on a journey to uncommon freedom in Jesus Christ, then download the Exodus 90 app today. We start January 20th, 2025, so go to exodus90.com/SQPN to learn more about Exodus 90. That's exodus90.com/SQPN. So, as we record this, the Vatican has recently just released a new document from the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith in conjunction with the Dicastery for Culture and Education, called, what is it called? I'm trying to find my notes here.
Antiqua et Nova.
Thank you, Antiqua et Nova. And what it is, it's about artificial intelligence. Now, we talked about the Vatican statement on artificial intelligence last week. The Pope and the Vatican in general have been talking about AI for quite a while now, and the dangers and benefits. And this really summarizes it for us, the dangers and benefits. And it's really actually quite good, this document, and it raises some important issues that I don't see other people raising. And so, I'd like to get into that just a little bit. One of the things, not surprisingly, is it talks about human dignity at the core of how we should approach AI, and especially the understanding of what intelligence is, and the fact that human intelligence cannot be replicated by artificial intelligence. That there's a danger in us thinking of human intelligence as functional or based on performance, like technology as if what the AI is doing is the same as what humans do. But when human intelligence, as they say, is a complex mix of reason, intellect, emotions, creativity, morality, and the quest for truth. They say human intelligence is understood through intellectus, intuitive grasp of truth, and ratio, discursive reasoning, both of which are essential to the full understanding of what it means to be human. AI intelligence is not either of those things. It certainly cannot do discursive reasoning, but it cannot have even an intuitive grasp of truth. It doesn't know what truth is. It has no understanding of truth beyond just mere facts. So I think that's a really interesting and important contribution to the discussion.
Yeah, because artificial intelligence is just that, artificial. Someone has to program it. You know, I know a lot of people use ChatGPT. I use Claude because and they're former people who worked for ChatGPT, but they've given Claude a bit of a moral center. So Claude, if you ask Claude certain things, it will say, no, I cannot do that.
But even there's danger in thinking of Claude as having a moral compass, because that morality is given to it by its creators.
Right, it's subjective.
And reflects their perspective. And that's the important thing is by the use of intelligence, when we've named this intelligence or artificial intelligence, we've potentially set ourselves up for problems because our minds like to anthropomorphize things. And we start to think of this as, like we see in science fiction, a moral actor, as if the AI itself can make moral decisions, good or evil, and it can't. It can only do what it's programmed to do.
Oh, okay. Maybe I need to then, when I explain these things to other people, be a little bit more. Look, I don't look at them as moral centered. I look at it as it's been given a framework that is not the Wild West. It's not just let me dump the information into this AI and have it spit back. They've said there are certain things you will not talk about. These are the things you will not give these answers for. That's what it does. Now, somebody else could program it to do something different, but these things are supposed to be helping us, not replacing things, not doing it for us. And yes, we have to be careful because a lot of people, especially the younger ones, start talking to the A lady and, Shlomo as if they were real people. Mm-hmm. And that is not what any of this is. This is supposed to be an aid for us because it takes all the information that it's given and gives it to us as we ask for it. But we have to be specific in what we ask for. Just by giving, give me a history of the United States. You're going to get everything. Now, give me a history of the United States between these dates concerning this topic. Now it shrinks itself. And you get a little bit closer to what you're looking for. I understand the Wild West mentality, and I understand people being afraid of AI, but it can still be useful. And I see this document as trying to point out where it can be useful and what we need to look towards as danger points.
Right. So the main concerns I see them having is, so there's a possibility of our experience with artificial intelligence, or the way we talk about artificial intelligence, creating a reductive view of human intelligence, so that we forget the differences. We have to make sure that we recognize that human intelligence, God's purpose for giving us intelligence is to help us to grasp truth, to seek and grasp truth. That's the purpose of our intelligence, is to truth, and truth being ultimately God. God is truth and beauty, and we need to be looking for God in the world around us. AI, as advanced as it ever becomes, will never be truly capable of that. It can ape it. In fact, it apes human intelligence, but it doesn't. It will never actually have the human intelligence. So there's that. So the reductionism is a danger. Mm-hmm. We also have to be concerned about truth and deception. AI is getting better and better at making fakes and that sort of thing, and tricking. We have to be careful, especially when we use it, to always make sure people know that we're, if I'm making an image, I need to make sure that people know it's an AI image. If I'm, or video, there's now video things or there's audio things. We're never going to use AI audios on our podcast. It's just not a thing we're ever going to do, because that's deceptive. But we've actually been accused of using AI in some of our shows to do like voiceover readings for, the always human people. These are all real people.
I don't understand that because well, I understand the deep fakes, but I can still tell a human voice as opposed to a artificial voice. For some strange reason, I can still get it. In fact, I saw a video clip recently, and I don't want to get into politics, but it was our current commander-in-chief and his youngest son singing Imagine, which I thought was quite, number one, hysterical. But number two, you could still tell that this wasn't real. It's just like, yeah, exactly. Well, no, not quite like that. But
I can't do a Trump impression, but
no, but you know what I mean? I mean, some of it is very good when they use the actual voices to do this. But when, some of it is not. But yeah, it is hard anymore to especially with the deep fakes. It can be disheartening.
And even when it's not trying to emulate like a well-known voice, like even if it's just being like two people, random voices, those can be really hard to at times to detect the difference. So we have to be careful with that. Just like with artificial AI generated images, some are really bad, but some they're getting really good in some cases. And so it's important to note, when you've used AI to make something.
I just want people to understand that AI is still very useful to us. Right. You just got to know how. It's just like anything else, but it can be like a blowtorch. You got to know how to use it and how to. It's a tool in the tool belt. It's not the be all and end all. You don't go to it for everything, but it's a tool in the tool belt. And it's not also the end of the world. It's not Terminator. It's that either. So some more that they talk about is social disparities. The rise of AI can exacerbate social disparities, because some people, it's like with all technology. If the wealthy have access but the poor don't, or certain classes, we have to make sure that we keep be aware of, do these AI tools, and not just chatbots, but things like AI for the use of healthcare. They're using AI to help identify cancer markers early, or AI can be used to say these people are good financial risk and these are people who are bad financial risk. Or there are other uses of AI than just the chatbots, and we have to make sure that these uses, again, do not exacerbate the social disparities that we already have, but that they actually overcome them, so that it makes these things more available to people. So better diagnoses for everyone, that sort of thing. There's a lot more. We really, I don't think we can get too much into a lot of it. They talk about environmental impact. They talk about autonomous weapons. They talk about the risk of a form of idolatry, which is not insubstantial. But they also talk about the possibilities, the good, the importance of human control, the importance of spiritual renewal will help us deal with all these things that the modern world brings us. So it's a really good document, a really good summation, and brings up some excellent points that I haven't seen others bring up. And so I think it's a worthwhile contribution. Right. And especially, the relation that's, as I said earlier, the relationship with God, that AI should be used as a tool to complement rather than replace. Yes. And that's highly important. I use AI for specific things, and I'm in ministry, and I was I did that whole seminar I spoke about a couple of podcasts ago, and it opened my eyes to what I can do. It also opened my eyes as to what I never want to do. Right. With it. That's important.
some discussion about whether we should ever make religious art using the AI. Should we make pictures of Jesus and Mary and the saints and, using the AI generators or
liturgy or planning out liturgy with AI. I would never do that because to me, putting all the factors together and not knowing the people who are going to be in the worship space.
Right. I wouldn't let it do the whole thing,
you can't.
But you could use it again, as a tool. Hey, ChatGPT, what are the 5 readings from the Bible that address this issue?
Right. That's fine.
That's a very specific request that is, it's functional. I could type it into Google. I could use the Logos Bible app for that, but but I'm not turning things over to it in general that are properly the domain of a person who is a moral actor, who is a person of faith and acts out of that faith and morality and human intellect.
Like plan my Easter vigil.
Right. Don't ever.
Don't ask it to plan an Easter vigil.
Right. Specific as opposed to more general. So moving on, I want to talk about some big developments. This is a pretty groundbreaking development. There's this new AI model that's been released, this new large language model called DeepSeek, and it comes out of China. Alarm bells should ring when you hear that. But it's open source, which means that anyone can look at the code that they've released to the world. What makes this remarkable is they said they spent like $6 million instead of $100 million to develop it. That's been the big issue, is to train a large language model. So far, ChatGPT or Claude or Google Gemini, these are massive efforts that cost hundreds of millions of dollars to create, and which means requires massive investment and massive compute farms with expensive servers and what DeepSeek says, their company says, is we spent $6 million and it runs on older chips. So you don't need these massive server farms, which kind of goes toward addressing some of and they've released it to everyone. So anyone can download it and use it and modify it. And that addresses some of what the Vatican was concerned about, which was disparity. So you don't have to be just the wealthy nation of the United States or one of the European Union nations or something like that to be able to run this with massive ability to have massive server farms that use tons of electricity. In fact, maybe this can be available much more widely. And it's caused a huge stock market upheaval and all this stuff. And mainly because just, to kind of divide things a bit. As users, this is good news, I think. For companies and investors, it's bad news because it means that they're not going to make as much money. They're not going to invest as much money as they were. So NVIDIA, for example, that makes all the GPUs that go into all these AI servers, got slammed in a stock market bloodbath yesterday. They lost $600 billion in capitalization as their stock basically crashed because they've been living high on the hog so far with this AI thing. And suddenly the people are saying, oh, we don't actually need those really expensive chips anymore to do this. So it's an interesting development. It bears watching. There's an app on the app stores for this DeepSeek that people are downloading. I would caution against downloading an app from a Chinese company, especially for this sort of thing.
Yes.
DeepSeek itself, the model, if it gets used by Microsoft or Amazon or somebody like that, it may be okay because they're in control of it and they have the model and all that stuff. I'm not sure I want a Chinese company having access to my phone for this sort of thing, just based on the whole TikTok accessing, like the Chinese Communist government accessing data through my phone. So just something like that.
Yeah, I riffed off the original BBC article and went to another one that said, be careful. Oh, this is an Australian warning. Is it safe? And it tells you that in DeepSeek's own privacy policy, it collects large amounts of personal information, which then is stored into, air quote, secure servers in China. And this could include your email, your phone number, your date of birth when you create. Of course, that happens with everything. Any user input, including text, audio, chat histories, and also technical information. Your phone's model, operating system, IP address, keystroke patterns.
Keystroke patterns.
You know
what that means? They're tracking what you type on your phone.
Yeah. So the warning is no Chinese apps right now, because we don't know. Everything is so volatile in this world, and I don't want to get political, that this could be something that in months we could hear, well, we're not going to use that here in the United States either, or something else has happened because of it. I'd be real careful with this one. Right. That was I'm glad I riffed off the original article so I could read this part.
Right. And like even things like if you ask what happened on June 4th, 1989 in China, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question because that's the Tiananmen Square massacre. Like So that's, I want to emphasize there's two different things we're talking about here. There's the DeepSeek AI chatbot app run by this Chinese company. And then there's the DeepSeek LLM model, large language model, that's open sourced and can be used by others. That's the one that I think is more promising. I'm recommending against using DeepSeek AI app, which is number 1 in the App Store right now. People.
Yeah, really. Come on, guys.
Be a little more discerning, folks.
I agree with you, Don. Yeah, on this one, I agree with you totally.
But of course, it's not just Chinese companies we have to worry about.
Yeah. Oh, here. And the next one.
As we move to our next headline.
Meta
AI can now use your Facebook and Instagram data to personalize its responses, and you can't opt out. So
I really need to leave Facebook if I didn't have to use it for work. I would just love to jump off Facebook.
So this is a little bit of good and bad. Okay, there's a good part. So there's the Meta AI, which I don't use because it seems kind of silly to use it.
Me neither.
I don't find a need for it, but they've added this feature which already exists in ChatGPT and Gemini, which is it can remember information from previous responses. You can tell it about yourself, and it will form its messages according to what you've said to it before and what it knows about you already. So if I've previously mentioned that I'm a vegan and I ask Meta AI for breakfast ideas, it will give me vegan breakfast ideas. That sort of thing. Sure, that's fine.
Yay.
I mean, that's pretty standard. However, it will also how's it? Where does it go? I'm trying to find the specifics.
Yeah, I'm looking for
it. It will also harvest information from your account across Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp to craft responses to things as well. And I don't like the idea that it's harvesting information. It says it won't remember things in group chats. Okay.
Yippee.
But it's going to get other information from my posts and stuff, which, let's be honest, it should be a wake-up call. Facebook has had access to all this information from the beginning, from Facebook and Instagram, and they've created a shadow profile of every one of us that has all this information. This is just bringing it to light that they can do this, that they have this information.
Yeah, I'm right now, because I use WhatsApp. I use WhatsApp for work and for a friend of mine who lives out of the country. I'm ready right now in her chat with me to throw my husband in, who never uses WhatsApp, just so we can have a group chat and stop the harvesting of the info. After I read that, I was like, you're kidding me. So the group one I have for work, I know is who wants to talk about funerals anyway. Right. But there's a lot of information in there that we pass back and forth. So I'm kind of glad they don't touch the group chats yet.
Right.
But the single chats now I'm concerned about. So
I wouldn't use a Facebook product for anything, any information that I would deem sensitive at all. We have a family WhatsApp channel because my sister insists on having an Android phone. So
we go green bubbles again.
Yes. Otherwise, say what you will. I mean, I'm not saying you have to use Apple, but use a messaging app that gives you encryption end to end, so that the provider itself can't get access. And that's messages on an iPhone on the Apple ecosystem is encrypted end to end.
Slack would do that too, wouldn't it? If we use Slack as a business.
I don't think it's encrypted end to end.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of, I would have to look it up. I would have to see. There might be on the paid plan, there might be encryption. There are other alternatives to Slack out there. There's open source. What's it called? Matter? No, there's an open source version of Slack that you can run on your own server. That would certainly be private because it's your own server. But for anything like a sensitive information, Signal would be a one that's encrypted end to end.
No, Slack does not offer end to end encryption by default.
By default. So there may be a paid version that you can get it. So I was going to say Signal, Telegram, those offer end to end encryption as well. Although Telegram, if I recall, there's some question about. I have to double check, but there's some question about whether they are truly secure against like Russian incursion, because they have servers in Russia and that sort of thing. So you'd want to do so. We may need to come back and do a little more an episode on encrypted messaging in order to get to the bottom of it. But in general, I just wouldn't use any Facebook Meta platform for anything sensitive like that.
Yeah, and see, I'm saying that WhatsApp is encrypted end to end, but not if they're looking at my stuff. That doesn't make me. Yeah,
it's encrypted end to end. But what does it mean when they say that? That's the same thing with Messenger. They say that Messenger is encrypted. I don't believe them. Like, honestly, they have squandered what trust I would have extended in the past.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so. That is our AI segment of the week.
Yeah, really. All AI all the time.
Yes, that's big. I mean, this is where technology is today. So, AI is becoming ever more a part of our life. And not just, like I said, chatbots are the flashy or in the image generators, so the flashy part of it. But really where AI, these large language models, is going to make it the biggest impact is going to be in very specific niche areas like healthcare, like financial matters, like weather, and all these other very niche places. It is where it's really going to make its impact felt, and so it pays for us to keep on top of how that is, and to pay attention. Listen to how the church tells us to approach these things. I encourage people to, heck, if you don't want to read the long document yourself, throw it into an AI and ask it to summarize it for you with the high points, because it'll do it for you.
Very nicely.
Yes. All right, let's move on to our picks of the week. Joanne, why don't you go first? What's your pick this week?
Well, I recently received a iPhone 16 Plus for last Christmas, this Christmas, and I bought the Apple silicon, case for it, and dropped it 4 times and broke a screensaver, the green screen protector. So. And that doesn't usually happen. Now, I'm a leather person, and I prefer, and I know that's a lot of people out there going to want to throw paint at me, but I'm a leather person when it comes to something that's going to both protect and not have it slip out of my hands.
Right.
Okay. So while I'm waiting, and I got to make this caveat, I usually use Moderno products for cases when I want a case that covers both front and back of my iPhone. I'm still waiting for them to produce the iPhone 16 Pro, but in the meantime, I was able to get one from Amazon called Shieldon, and it's not a bad case. It is genuine leather. They do have them for the entire iPhone 16 line. They have the RFID blocking if you're going to put your credit cards in there, because there are 3 slots and I want to say like a little foldy section inside to put your cards in.
Okay, so it's like folio wallet style.
Yeah, I prefer this is just me. I prefer folio for the winter in New England because of the elements and going in and out of coat pockets and all kinds of stuff. And it has all the cutouts. It's it's a good product. It's leather. It holds up. I can see that it's going to be something that I would have for a while. If you want to put, it has 3 slots for, license and or credit cards. Let me tell you, it just makes it more bulky. The more things you put in there. So I just have my license in it most of the time. And it's a good, strong, sturdy rubber protection around the iPhone itself with all the cutouts and everything that you need for a 16. It's a good price. It's $32.99. They've got 3 right now as we record this. They have a $3 coupon. Comes in a whole bunch of good colors. And I think if you're looking, it also has the Qi charging. So it goes right through the case and you can put a battery pack on it with no problem. It's a good quality. If you want something a little bit better than when I get the Moderna one, I can talk about that because that's been my go-to for years.
Okay.
For winter. But if you need something in the time being, because Moderna takes about 6 months to produce their folio,
right.
This is a good replace, stopgap. Or if you like it,
just be the one you want. Yeah.
Right. The only problem I have is the Moderna one fits a lot. It covers more ground. There is a gap in this one. So you can still get stuff in it, even though it's magnetic and it closes in the whole 9 yards. But I want that all sealed when I drop it because I'm getting old and it's flying out of my hands faster than it's ever done before. I've never used to drop phones, and now I've dropped this one in 3 months, maybe 10 times.
Yeah.
So it's going to be me. But if you're in my position, then you need something sturdy.
Right. All right. So my pick is, I don't think I picked this before. I just want to double check. But for a long time, I thought, in fact, I'm almost certain I picked this before, but
I don't remember it. So
okay, because I feel like I talked about this. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of car crashes and dash cam videos. I don't know why I enjoy it. Maybe it's me being like the dad, like who's, those people driving like crazy people. Let's show my kids, don't drive like this. I don't know what it is, but, I've become convinced that having a dash cam is a protective, what am I saying? A protection for us, so that if we ever do get in a crash, we can produce imagery of this is what happened, why we're not at fault. Because again, so many of these crashes without the dash cam, the insurance company, the police, whoever could say, oh, you did, you're responsible. When you have a dash cam, you can say, no, I wasn't. The problem has been for a long time is the quality of the imagery from the dash cams has been so bad. Linus Tech Tips did a video a while ago, just basically showing like the quality of the video is so in cameras up to that point were so bad that you couldn't read the license plates. At night it was basically glare and darkness. But this one, I'm going to talk about the Mio 5 car camera 4K resolution is pretty darn good. I've looked at its footage during the day, at night, in all kinds of conditions, and it's really good footage. Now, the way it works is it points out the front. Obviously, it doesn't have a rear-facing camera. You can get a more expensive one for rear-facing, but for this one, it just points out the camera. There's also ones that record both interior of the cabin as well as exterior. I don't want that. But it does record, and it does record audio, so you have to be aware that you are being recorded audio at the same time. So there are times when I'm
that's out for me. That's out for me.
So, and it has all these extra features that I basically turned off, but its basic function of recording is really great. And it records in 1 minute increments to an SD card. And you can choose whatever size SD card you want. You can get a really big one. But it records 1 minute increments automatically. As soon as the car comes on, it starts recording. And, it's a sort of a first in, first out. So as the card fills up, it'll start deleting the oldest video. If it detects a crash or in my case, a serious pothole that's on the road to the supermarket, it'll do like sort of an emergency record where it will take video from the previous minute or two and then the next few minutes and create a special emergency video on the card in a separate section just in case. So that's nice. It does have like other things like AI features, quote unquote. If you're driving too close to the person in front of you or too far, apparently, which is really annoying because it's constantly speed up, be quiet. I don't need another backseat driver telling me how to drive. That's an AI. So I've turned off a lot of those extra features where it wants to help me improve my driving. But for its basic function of recording, and it has GPS built in, which is good. It has Wi-Fi built in so that it will connect to your phone when you and download to your phone, whether it's Android or iOS. It's good to apps for both. And it's really been really great. It's good. It's good a possibility of doing 24-hour parking monitoring, but again, that's using your it's connecting to your battery in your car, and it requires a separate wiring kit. I don't want that. But if it's something you want to monitor your car while you're not in it, that would be fine. And it's not that expensive. It's normally $90. There's actually a $14 coupon on Amazon right now, which is great. Let
me ask you a question on it, Dom, because I've been looking for something like this. Where do you mount it?
So I have it mounted to the right of my rearview mirror, and it's kind of high on the windshield. So it's not really in my field of view. I don't want it in my field of view to distract me or to obstruct anything I can see. And honestly, a policeman would say the same thing. Like, you should not have something obstructing your field of view. So I have it up and to the right and sort of behind the rearview mirror.
Yeah, that's problematic for me on a Subaru because I have what's called an eyesight system, which is right there as well. That's built into the car. So
I mean, you could put it as far over to the right as you want. I don't want it in front of me. I want it off to the side. So you could mount it all the way to the right of the windshield.
Right, passenger side. Yeah.
Yeah, on the like that. That's where it is on both of my cars, on the van and in our sedan.
And can you turn the audio off?
Oh, you mean the recording of the audio?
Yeah.
I think you can. I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure you can.
Only because I have business conversations in my car other than yelling at drivers like we all do up here.
Yeah.
And that's not something I'd want recorded.
Yeah. I think you can, but I'd have to double check that. But I think you can turn off the recording function, the audio recording. It's a nice big screen, bright. That works really nice. I don't think of other features of it. It's been a really great, I mean, we've had ones where I had a deer run across in front of us and I shared the video with the kids, that sort of thing. It's really easy to use. I found in times, stuff where I have to connect the phone to it via a special, Wi-Fi connection to be unreliable in the past. This one works pretty good. There's still a couple of things you have to, hoops to jump through to get it in general, but it works. And that's what I like about it. I don't think of other things. That's just basically it. It does what it says it does. And it's not expensive. It's, with the sale price at $65, that's, to buy one for two, each car, if you have two cars, is not bad. That is not bad at all. The one issue is routing the power cable. That's been
okay.
Yeah, I had to use like tape to tape it under the dash because I mean there's just not a huge a lot of places to put it, but you can route it underneath the it comes with a tool that where you can push it underneath the overhead fabric, and then you kind of route it down by the pillar, and then I just have it tucked under the glove compartment, and to the charger port.
And I could hear my husband, the car guy, going, "You're not doing that to your car."
Yeah. On the other hand, it's nice. I feel like it's a bit of an insurance system. That's a nice little insurance system to have.
That's how I feel. I wish I'd had one when I had that hit and run a couple of years ago.
Yep. And capture the plates. That's and to show that you're not at fault. So, yeah. Excellent. So those are our picks of the week, and that'll do it for us this time. We'd love to know what you think of any part of our discussion that we've had, and you can do that by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC286. Be sure to follow The Secrets of Tech in Apple Podcasts or Spotify or TuneIn or in your favorite podcast app or at the StarQuest YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia, where you should make sure to hit the bell to get notifications. Until next time, Joanne Mercier, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. Vatican II in a Year. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Vatican.